not be in that game because their season ended on Saturday. But now it appears the Rams might have had a big advantage. Two Rams offensive linemen told The Ringer that the Cowboys defensive line was tipping their signals before up to 90% of their snaps. Rams center John Sullivan said, quote, "We had a lot of tips and tells on what they were going to do in front of us." That could be a big reason why the Rams rushed for 273 yards in that game. We're joined by Fox NFL analyst Mark Schlereth. Mark, this is true. How much did it help the Rams?
Well, you played offensive line.
Sure. Yeah. Sure, I mean, it's certainly, there's no question that it's a help, and we all tip our stances to some degree. I mean, like, if you ever played against me, you knew if I was pulling, you knew if I was coming off the ball, you knew if I was going to pass set. I tip my stance. Everybody does to a certain degree. Here's the issue. If you come into a game plan where you're playing against a zone team, a wide zone, and the Rams, as much as Sean McVay likes to call it the illusion of complexity, right? We're going to show you a lot of stuff, a lot of window dressing, a lot of motion, but we run 18-19 handoff. I sat with him, Shannon, and he said, hey, listen, all we do is run exactly what you guys ran in the 90s. That's what we do. That's our zone running game. Now, I will tell you this. You can tip the stance or you can tip what you're doing, and that's an advantage to the offense. There's no question. But the way Dallas approached this game, trying to run stunts in the running game, is the worst thing you can do for a zone running team, because you create a situation where you're telling me as soon as you pinch, man, it's my read in a zone. If I'm working together with Shannon and you pinch, you know, I pass it off to Shannon and I go to the next level. Or if I'm working with the center, I pass it off to my center. I take the next level. And essentially what happens to you is you take one guy out this way, and then one guy's looping around. He takes himself out of the play, and it's like the parting of the Red Sea. And what you saw on a consistent basis was the Dallas Cowboys just getting absolutely thunderstruck right in the middle of the football field, just eviscerated, because they're trying to run games to stop a zone running game. And you can't, I mean, that's the worst thing you can possibly do.
Where you just take whoever lines up.
Well, a zone is an area, so there's different, everybody's run on the same track, but obviously there's different zones depending on where they're lined up. But if I'm a center, if this is a center and this is a guard, we're all coming off like this. And if there happens to be a defensive tackle, we're going to take those steps to take him. And then wherever he goes, like we just take him further than he wants to go, the next guy rolls up to the second level, the linebacker level. So that's what zone is. And they base themselves out of a wide zone system. And if you're going to, the Raiders used to do it to us all the time. And you may get us for a yard, you may stop us for a yard or a minus yard, but you know what? It's going to be a yard, minus yard, 2 yards, 4 yards, 42-yard touchdown. That's how it works when that's the way you try to defend that. And the fact that they didn't truly adjust that over the course of the football game, that's not so much tipping your stances. That's just bad coaching.
I agree with that.
You see, Skip, you look at, as you call him, C.J. Dickinson.
Yeah, that's who he is. He's C.J. Dickinson.
You see C.J. Anderson go 6, 5, 5, 6. Todd Gurley goes 35 for the touchdown.
Good point, yeah.
There lies the problem. See, in a zone scheme, Skip, you don't block a man, you block an area. And what you're doing when you run out of one area, you make it very easy for the second guy to climb and get on your linebackers. You want him to have a struggle. You want it to be a struggle. Well, if you run out of the play, you just made Stink's job really, really easy. Handle that, Tommy.
Yeah.
I'm going on the Van Der Esch, or I'm going on the Jalen Smith. So you make the job very, very easy. And again, Skip, if I know what you're going to, if Stink knows, when he gets in his stance and he knows, oh, look at the tackle. He's back a little bit. They about to run a game. Right. Oh, you going away. He's going to let, now when I talk to the tackles, I say ice cream. That means scoop. Or I would say burger and fries. That meant combo. So I'm telling what we going to do. Oh, you just made my job.
That's deep. I think I could have figured that one out.
Right. I like it.
You know?
Well, they're defensive players, Skip. Don't give them a lot. You can't give them too much credit. They're not real bright.
Defensive guys, they're like, oh, you got that man. So
I got it.
They have no long call.
Right.
But Skip, I'm sorry. Sorry happened to your team.
I'm very happy that they bragged about all their little secret tells that they figured out, because they get to come to Jerry World next year for a regular season game. We'll see if they run tell that at Jerry World.
And put it on you again. You want them to put it on you again. You want it 3 times in a row.
We've already got a case to do on that.
You want it 3 times in a row.
I want it this one. That's what I want. We'll see what happens.
How does that work in the NFC Championship for them?
Well,
they get to watch it from the couch. Are you having them over to your couch to watch it? Or?
I don't care about it anymore.
No,
We'll see. I hope they win it all now, because they have to come play us in another game that counts next year.
Oh, so you want to have bragging rights and you beat the Super Bowl champs, huh?
So the greatest zone blocking, no offense to your 90s offensive lines, but the greatest line I ever saw was the 90s Cowboys line. And it was loaded with elephant blockers who they were straight zone. They just lined up, and whatever you saw across from you, you just obliterated it. And Emmitt Smith couldn't find holes. He couldn't run to holes, so they just literally called it Emmitt left and Emmitt right, handoff or toss, whichever way. They didn't pull. They mauled. And they were so physical at the point of attack, they blew people off the football, and Emmitt was 5'9", and he could duck and dart behind those elephants, and you couldn't find him until he was 5 yards into your secondary, and then you were in big trouble. So that's how they did it. But I'm going to defend this Cowboy defense because they finished 5th in the league against the run. So they were doing something right, because they had just shut down Seattle. They were the #1 rush attack in pro football. Were they doing it completely differently? Were they coming in with different kind of blocking schemes? Did the stunts work against Seattle? Because they got a grand total of 73 yards rushing in the previous Saturday night playoff game at Jerry World, right? And when Sean Payton came to Jerry World back as the end of November on a Thursday night, remember what happened? They were one of the top rushing teams in football. They managed 65 total rush yards in that game in a 13-10 game. So they were doing something right, but I agree with you. You have to adjust to what you're seeing, because the way to beat the zone team is to you got to have anchors. You got to just stay put. You got to fight fire with fire, physicality with physicality. You don't need to trick that front. You need to attack that front.
But you got to do what you do, Skip. This is what they've done all year, so you don't get away from what you've done all year. That's what got you to this point.
I would like to have seen at least 1 or 2 run blitzes where you just send those 2 backers as hard as you can into those holes, just to screw up the zone blocks, just to force them to make choices that are hard to make.
Right, really, but those are the same things. When you run the run blitzes against the zone, you're going to get, the same thing's going to happen to you. You're going to get eviscerated. I think the issue that you get into when you're trying to defeat a team like that is you have to muddy the second level looks. So you have to play tight. You have to play, like you said, a pillar that can't be moved. And you have to, between the 2 guys or the 3 guys that are running a zone, you have to make it like, who should come off? Should we hesitate? What happens? And when that happens to you, then all of a sudden that second level, you don't get to it, and you don't create those wide open cutback lanes that they were creating in those. So the run blitz stuff against the zone team is not great. That blitz stuff and that pinching stuff and looping stuff is great if you're playing against a man team.
Right,
because you pick guys off, they can't get the second level. Guys have free run lanes at the linebacker position to tackle your running back, but not against a team that bases out of
y'all
zone.
Y'all got to tell Washington. Y'all got to tell Washington you got a Q trail up in Dallas, so you better have somebody that can anchor it down, that can hit a knee and he ain't moving. Because unless you got that, they're going to get y'all up out of there.
We have had that. And this is just me. I'm going to say it again. Sometimes stopping the run is just about fire and desire. You just have to want to stop it more than they want to block you. And sometimes that's what it is, and I thought my defense just didn't show up.
Well, here's what I think. Here's what I think happened more than anything. I think the league has changed in that everybody says we want to stop the run, but really what they want to do is they want to play nickel and dime. They want to stop the pass, right? That's what they want to do. And I think sometimes you look at the Rams and you see the weapons on the outside, and you see the big throws down the middle of the field, and you see the matchups they get with a wide receiver on a linebacker or a running back on a linebacker, and you get so nervous about that stuff that you're saying, hey, we're going to stop this.
Right.
And here's how we're going to stop it. We're going to stop it by, we're going to bring guys, we're going to pressure Jared Goff, we're going to do this. And what ends up happening is they just line up and hand it off, because that's what the Rams really like to do. And the next thing you know, you get thunderstruck in the mouth. And even when you're up 7-3, they've run the ball down the field twice. And you're sitting there going, man, we're seeing how they're possessing the ball. We're going to take this from a 12-possession game to an 8-possession game. We got to throw the football on the offensive side. We don't have the time to establish our run. I think they got duped both sides of the coaching staff. I think the offensive coaching staff with Jason Garrett got duped, and I think the defensive coaching staff got duped as well.
Yeah, despite all that, you're talking about like it was a 50-point game. It was an 8-point game.
It could have been.
It was 8.
It could have been.
It was 8.
And
it also could have been tied.
They took a knee. It could have been over 300 because CJ.
Thinking about a rematch for next year.
Yes.
Mark, good to have
I
you.
won a game by 1 once. You know what? I got a W.
Yeah, it does work that way. Good to have you. Speaking of getting the W, it's tonight a must-win for Luke Walton. We'll discuss that next.